We have a fantastic panel ahead. I can promise you it's going to be fantastic because we have a very, very fun surprise, which I've literally just learned about as part of this panel. So please do come in, please do take your seats. I'm also moderating this panel, so I can't guarantee that it's going to be all fantastic, but it's all about Bitcoin circular economies all around the world, a subject I'm very, very passionate about. So, without further ado, I'm going to invite my co-speakers to the stage. The first person I can see is Hermann Vivier, who of course co-founded the Bitcoin Akazi project in South Africa. Please put your hands together for Hermann Vivier. Got some fans in the audience. Your face will appear. Could you sit underneath your face when it appears? Next up, we have Chimbera. His real name is, of course, Hermann Martinez. All the way from El Salvador. Chimbera, give it up for Chimbera.
Buonasera, buonasera.
You sit next to Hermann. And last but by no means least, Mike Peterson, founder of Bitcoin Beach in El Salvador, wearing the Bitcoin Beach t-shirt as well. Please welcome Mike to the stage. So, gentlemen, I'm mentioning El Salvador a lot here for the surprise that's in store right now. You, of course, come all the way from El Salvador. Chimbera, you've grown and still live in El Salvador as well. Could you just maybe say a few words about how El Salvador brings people together?
El Salvador is Bitcoin country, and I think when President Bukele made Bitcoin a legal tender in El Salvador, it gave us a place. It made the dream of many people around the world comes true, and I think that's beautiful to see everyone that come to El Salvador that was expecting that moment, that we all knew it, that it will happen. We didn't know when, where, and that happens in El Salvador. For us, it's beautiful. It's a dream, that comes true. And I think Salvadorian people are dreaming and exciting, have hope, and that's what is attracting why a lot of people are coming and getting together in El Salvador.
That is the most wonderful segue. Do you want to say something, Michael?
Yeah, just we're seeing Bitcoiners from around the world move to El Salvador, and I always tell people it's like living, especially in El Zante where we're at, it's like being at a nonstop Bitcoin conference. You just run into Bitcoiners, like-minded people all the time, and so it really is the place to be.
Fantastic. That was my segue for our little surprise this afternoon. So can I welcome Andre to the stage? Please give it up for Andre. This is completely unplanned, completely unscripted. The floor is yours.
Take 1 minute away from this panel to talk about my own journey moving to El Salvador. I booked my flight to El Salvador 3 years ago, pretty much as soon as the announcement about Bitcoin's legal tender was made. I wasn't sure what to expect when I moved there, to be honest. But what I found was a country that had a totally new... is this better? Thank you. I found a country that had a total new outlook on life, a new hope for life. And this country brought me personally so much and brought me a new outlook on life. I had the chance to meet the love of my life there. I would like to introduce Rosie. And I'm going to give the microphone to her.
Give it up for Rosie.
She mainly speaks Spanish, so she's going to do this in Spanish. I'm going to ask her, ¿puedes hablar un poco sobre El Salvador y sobre los cambios que han pasado en los últimos años con Bitcoin?
Hola, buenas tardes. Andy, no. No puede ser.
Yeah.
Claro que sí. ¿Cuál es? Oh my God.
Oh, please give it up for the happy couple.
I really love you so much.
Congratulations. Felicidades, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
You're so
¿Sí?
welcome.
¿Aceptó?
Yeah, did you say yes?
Yes.
Yes, good.
Say yes.
Checking.
Of course.
Well done, dude. Well done. Please give it up for the happy couple. Please. Thank you so much, Andreas. Thank you. Thank you. I'll take that back off you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Wow. Wow.
He's got guts.
This is. He's
Thank you.
ready to share half of his Bitcoin. That's good.
Yes. That was your surprise, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're all smiling and hope you're all reveling in that moment. As mentioned, Andrea met his now fiancée in El Salvador. When he first moved there 3 years ago, he booked the flight ticket upon the legal tender law being announced by Nayib Bukele. So yeah, there is truly fascinating, exciting, and yeah, wonderful things happening from the country of El Salvador. Okay, so I guess we should start with El Salvador and Bitcoin circular economies. Could you maybe give us an update on where we are in 2024, given that, Mike, you've been running the project now for the past, 5 or is it 6 years now?
It's been about 5 years, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, since it really has been transformational for anybody who has been to El Salvador. Even a couple years ago, coming today, you won't even recognize the country. I mean, every time I leave and come back, I see new construction, new things happening, and Bitcoin adoption is really taking hold. A lot of people initially were disappointed. They thought, it was going to be overnight that every, dollar would leave and everybody would be using Bitcoin. Obviously, these type of transformations take some time. And so we are now seeing, when they're building new supermarkets, they have signs everywhere that they're accepting Bitcoin. We're seeing the everyday people start to embrace Bitcoin. And so it really is, just beautiful to see how Bitcoin adoption and the prosperity of the country is kind of growing in tandem.
It is absolutely amazing to see. I was last there 2 years ago. Really excited to go back there next year to bring my surfboard, of course, and to spend as much time there relaxing, chilling, and also observing, investigating what's going on with the Bitcoin scene. Can I sort of ask specifically about sort of metrics or milestones that you look at to gauge that success, or maybe stories you might have, Hermann, regarding Bitcoin's adoption in El Salvador?
Yeah, I think, like Mike say, in El Salvador sometimes it's hard to keep up with everything that is happening, because there is like a lot of projects. Like from the government in infrastructure, like entrepreneurial people, like real estate, tourism. Like every week there are people that show up in Bitcoin Beach in El Salvador, and it's like I'm here, I'm exciting. I want to buy a house here. I want to move here. I want to get residence,
Want to get married here?
I want to get married here, and I think this is beautiful, but I think like also a lot of people come and say like, oh, I have been hearing like a lot from Bitcoin Beach, but I come here and I see people like still living in shack and like poverty and it's like this is Bitcoin country, but I say like, but you don't know where we were like just a few years ago and where we are now, and one of the biggest change that I see in Salvadorian people is the mindset. The mindset have been changing, and when we were kids, we just were dreaming to leave the country, and now I think still people want to leave, but the majority of the people want to stay, Wow. And there are opportunities and people are dreaming, and there are Salvadorians building companies, there are Salvadorians working for Bitcoin companies. And I think that hope and that dreams that Salvadorian people are having is the first change, because as I always say, like if you dream, you have a chance, right? And everything started from there, And I think that seed, it is in the mindset of Salvadorians, and it's beautiful, and also seeing also in El Salvador like Bitcoin Berlin now, seeing La Piraya, the Bitcoin Islands, seeing Citadel of Hope in the east of El Salvador. So adoption is moving forward, things are happening, not like, sometimes we want things happening really fast, but it's happening.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's so important. I think the point about the mindset shift is particularly relevant to Europe, because in Europe we're seeing a lot of mindset shift, towards the negative. You know, there's a lot of doom and gloom here, and a lot of people are considering, okay, where can I leave to get to somewhere where there is hope, where there is this change in mindset towards a positive way of looking at the future. In El Salvador, it's not something you can touch, but it's something you can feel. You know, conversations with people, just the fact that people are just generally, they've got more brevity, they're more lighter, they're just a bit more hopeful than, say, your average downtrodden British person, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that for the purpose of this discussion today, we're going to focus on some of the new projects that you just mentioned right now, not just in El Salvador, but across the rest of the world. And then we're also going to focus on one of the things that a lot of Europeans and Americans struggle with, which is hodl culture, and whether or not we should actually be spending Bitcoin, which is, of course, very relevant in somewhere like Lugano, where there's 300 merchants onboarded. But before we get there, Hermann, would you be able to give us an update on where you are with Bitcoin Akazi? I last visited in January and was amazed by the project. But what's going on now, particularly with the Surfer Kids and Bitcoin Akazi?
Yeah, sure. The project is much bigger than what it was before we adopted Bitcoin, and it's because we've connected with a global community. So similar to Bitcoin Beach, we had a pre-existing social project, and we built a circular economy project on top of that. And it's really grown from a staff of about 2 or 3 people to more than 10 employees, and it's not something that I ever expected to happen, but it's incredibly positive, and I feel very hopeful about it. Some practical updates. I mean, we're doing Bitcoin diploma classes on a daily basis, 5 days a week. Kids surf 5 days a week. We have, 10 people working full time, earning their entire salary in Bitcoin. There's about 20 shops in the community. Mm-hmm. It's a pretty small little community. We're focused on a particular area. And we're trying to create as many initiatives as we can to get sats into the community and get it, and then keep it there by encouraging the flow of sats within the community. I mean, that's where the whole term circular economy comes from. It's about not spending with a third-party provider, but spending peer-to-peer in the community so that it flows in the community. And I think the most exciting thing for me that I've seen in the last year is the introduction of Bitcoin into the lives of people who, like, I can't give a book to somebody who can't read. I can't send them, a video and then expect them to get it. But if I pay their salary in Bitcoin, eventually they're going to get it. And to see people saving for the first time and to have that mindset shift where nothing's really changed. I've been paying salaries for a long time. The only thing that's changed is the medium with which I'm paying the salary, and to now all of a sudden see somebody thinking about university education for their child for the first time, whereas before they would just live hand to mouth, get the salary, spend the salary, get the salary, spend the salary, whereas now it's like, okay, maybe I should save a little bit. Maybe I should think about this, think about that. And that's really only happened in the last sort of year and a half, because that doesn't happen instantly. So that's the most exciting thing, and I'm seeing more and more of that.
Yeah, I guess it comes back to what Gilberto was saying about the mindset shift, right? When you're paid in Bitcoin, it becomes very, very real. And then you have to find ways to either use it or sell it, right? Let's shift towards the big Bitcoin bang, or the big Bitcoin circular economy bang. I'd love to get a sense of how these Bitcoin circular economies are spreading around the globe. And I think, Gilberto, you have a few updates for us. Oh, the clicker. Next slide, please. There we are.
So this is a quote that came from Mike, and I really like it because we're not here, who, like, a lot of people follow Michael Saylor. I do too, but I'm not agree like just we need to hold Bitcoin, We need to spend in Bitcoin. And we're seeing at the El Salvador booth, a lot of people that are here, I think some of them, they never have been doing their first Lightning transaction.
Wow.
And you're here in a Bitcoin conference. You're here in Lugano, in the biggest series with more adoption in Europe, and we're testing them like, hey, you can buy a t-shirt, but you need to do a Lightning transaction here. And like, no, I never use it. I want to try it, but, do it. You're here. You have to do it, But anyway, like, Bitcoin circular economies are the true representation of freedom money and the people who need it the most. I think for us, this is like really powerful, you know, when you come to Bitcoin Beach, Bitcoin Kasi, Bitcoin Motif, Bitcoin Brazil, you know, and see what Bitcoin is doing for the community, you know. It's amazing how tourisms that came from all over the world are paying the same merchants, like a vendor in the street that doesn't have a bank account, that before couldn't be part of the growth of the country, because tourism were like walking on the street and want to pay with credit cards, and the vendors are like, how can I receive this payment, you know? And now Bitcoin is that tool, right? And it's beautiful to see. And next slide.
Here it comes. There you are.
And for us, we call this the big bang of Bitcoin circular economies. And I'm gonna, Mike, you wanna comment on this?
Yeah, one of the most amazing things about what we've been able to do at Bitcoin Beach is seeing all these other economies and groups around the world want to replicate what has happened in El Salvador. And at first they came to us and said, hey, you need to come here and do this. You know, you need to come to Africa and do this. You need to come to Brazil and do this. And we said, no, you need to do this. And it needs to be decentralized just like Bitcoin. It's not going to be top down. We'll share what worked for us, but things that work for us won't work for you. You're going to have to figure out what works in your unique community. What are the needs that Bitcoin really meets? Because there's, in each community, it's really different. And it's been so exciting to see, you know, even on this graphic, that only represents probably less than half of the communities now, because they're springing up faster than we can even, you know, keep track of them. And recently we were able to do a grant program that we gave to 22 new circular Bitcoin economies. And most of those are not represented on here. They're ones that are in the early stages. I'll let Roman talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. If you can see the graphic, and they were shown Bitcoin circular economies in 2013, and then it was a gap until 2019 when Bitcoin Beach was born. And this graphic stopped in 2022, and the new big bang is just keep growing, you know? And it's beautiful. It's exciting that people want to replicate what Bitcoin Beach did in El Salvador, you know? And I want to show you the next slide. And look at this, how it's looking now. And many of these projects are in Africa, Asia, Latin America, and I think in the next few years, this is just gonna be bigger and bigger and bigger. And one of the most exciting things is that I think finally people understanding that it's gonna be hard to have the next Bitcoin country, I guess, but we can have more Bitcoin circular economies around the world, you know? And if we have more Bitcoin circular economies around the world, and Bitcoiners go and visit these Bitcoin circular economies, and we all spend Bitcoin, I think we can win this, and we're winning this, right?
Well, that's the only way that you truly separate money from state, is by having these circular Bitcoin economies, of opting out of the fiat system. And we're seeing it happen on this grassroots level. And some people say, oh, it's just a small group. But that's really how revolutions start, is a small group of people that kind of turn their back on the world and dare to do something different. And so we're seeing these, you know, they're springing up all over the world. Not all of them will have leaders like we've had in El Salvador that are willing to take the risk to make it legal tender, but that's not always going to be needed. Bitcoin's going to win whether the government is for it or against it. And so we're seeing it in places even where the government's trying to tamp down, it's still spreading like wildfire. And that's what's so exciting about what we're seeing happening. And it's been great to see Bitcoin Akasi. They were really I would say the first one that sprung up after we started, and just watching their progress. And I had the chance to go there a couple years ago with my son and spend some time in the township and just see the transformation that's happening there. And this year at the Bitcoin conference, we're hoping to get some of the people from their team to actually come and be in El Salvador and see it there. So I don't know if Hermann, you want to?
Yeah, I mean, I think, we all want the same thing. We want hyper-Bitcoinization. I don't think there's anybody in this room that would say, no, I want to, 50 years from now, I still want to be using fiat money. I think we all can agree on that. The question that you should ask yourself is, how soon do you want it? Because, and it's, I actually didn't come up with this. This was Ricky from Bitcoin Explorers. He's around here somewhere at the conference. When we had the conference in Cape Town, he ended the conference by saying that, we can either have a hyper-Bitcoinized world in 5 years from now, in 10 years from now, in 20 years from now, and it's really up to you because it depends on when you decide to start spending your Bitcoin and not just hodling it. And I don't want to, offend anyone, but the argument that I don't want to spend my Bitcoin, I mean, it's a bit of a silly argument. It's not, particularly intelligent because you can always just buy more. And Ricky ended the conference by saying, hodl, spend, and fucking replace. And that's kind of my ethos as well, because you're never gonna. It's like Mike said, you're never gonna separate money and state unless it gets used as money on a daily basis, and that's ultimately what we want. And that brings me a lot of hope to see this, and we've been very fortunate to work with Bitcoin Beach to help fund some of these projects in Africa that are starting up. It's been, I don't know, more than 10 projects that I've personally worked with over the last 2 years, just on the African continent. And everybody everywhere sort of wants the same thing. We want to, use Bitcoin. And I know that use case is maybe a little bit more relevant to the places where we are from. It's not so relevant in the first world, but I think it's at least somewhat relevant everywhere.
Can you talk a bit about the second and sort of third order consequences of using Bitcoin as a day-to-day money? Because a lot of Bitcoiners know that privacy is a challenge, it's an issue. We need to work out how to make using Bitcoin more private. And we were talking just before going on stage about how these circular economies are a way of actually helping privacy. Like, how is that the case? Why is that the case?
Well, I mean, I think I've been watching the privacy debate in Bitcoin for a long time, and I think if you really want to solve the privacy thing, everybody knows that Bitcoin has some. I mean, this is not a technical panel, but everybody knows that Bitcoin has some privacy challenges, and there's no easy way to fix that. Even coin joining doesn't exactly break, the traceability. It just makes it a little bit obfuscated. But if you really want privacy, then you should have an entire world economy running on Bitcoin. A hyper-Bitcoinized world solves the privacy problem, because if everybody's using Bitcoin, then no one is using Bitcoin. And so to me, that's kind of like, that's what we should be aiming for, and it's up to us how quick we get there.
One thing I want to add as far as what spending in Bitcoin will do to you is it will force you to be a better steward of your resources. Yep. Because when you have to give up sats, you're going to question, is this worth it? So obviously, if you're hungry, if you need food, you're going to spend, but you're not going to spend on frivolous things. So if you really want to be able to stack sats, you need to cut back what you're spending on other things, and living on a Bitcoin standard will force you to do that, because you'll decide, no, it's not worth it to spend that on a Coca-Cola. You're only going to spend it on the things that you truly value. And so that's what I would encourage. Try living on a Bitcoin standard, and you will see you will save money, you will stack more sats, you will wind up with more Bitcoin than living on a fiat standard.
Sorry, can I just add something to that?
Yeah.
I think something that also needs to be maybe just explained a little bit is that I work in circumstances with our project in an environment where literacy is really, it's a big challenge. People finish school never having read a single book in their life. So in that environment, I ask myself the question, well, how can I think it could help people to adopt Bitcoin as a sound form of money, because it helps them to think about the future, plan for the future, save in something that goes up in value rather than down, especially if they're unbanked. The question is, but how do you educate somebody in that environment on Bitcoin? Like I said earlier, you cannot give that person a book. You can't send them a 2-hour, Michael Saylor podcast. It's not going to help. The most effective way I found of doing it is to actually just introduce it as a daily form of money, slowly but surely, not all at once, slowly but surely. And that's a very powerful form of education. And it really is quite hopeful, and I think it's one of the ways in which a country like South Africa could turn itself around, by people uplifting themselves. If you're saving over the course of 2-3 years and you're saving in something that goes up in value, it really changes your mindset. maybe they won't be able to go out and buy a house, but they change this idea that I can't do anything about my future, because all of a sudden they go, well, actually I can do something about my future. Look, I've been saving for a year, and this stuff is worth more than what it was a year ago. So what else can I do for myself? It's a powerful educational tool in that environment to get people to spend and receive their daily form of money in Bitcoin.
You know, Joe, creating a Bitcoin circular economy is a big challenge, because it came with a lot of work and a lot of I can talk for Losante, and we have been involved, supporting a lot of projects from around the world. But every project is different. But El Sante in particular is 70. Well, in El Sante was 90% of the people didn't have a bank account.
Right.
So you can imagine the challenge that bring to a normal family, right? That is when you go and you sit with them, Bitcoin will change your life. You should start using Bitcoin. It's like a time preference. It's like priorities, right? Like that you don't understanding, Here we are in Lugano, it's totally different. Like people here are Bitcoin representing totally another thing, But for families in the Bitcoin Circle Economies projects are the only thing that is giving them access to, to participate in something that we all are part here, that we can dream all together. But one of the things that I want to bring is that a lot of people were working on building these Bitcoin circle economies, onboarding these merchants, to accepting Bitcoin payments. But then you guys need to do your part. And what is your part? This is a challenge that we have been hearing from different Bitcoin Circle Economies projects, is that they need people that come and spend Bitcoin and these merchants, And that's where, we're here in Lugano and say, who have been in a Bitcoin Circle Economies yet? Who have been visiting a Bitcoin Circle Economy yet? Okay. Did you see? A few people.
Yeah.
Who is going to visit soon a Bitcoin Circle Economy?
Everyone's hand should be up.
Yeah, come on, guys.
But this is the thing, when we're here talking, guys, there are so many places around the world where if you're tired of, living here, negativity, you don't see a future, well, move. Go to South Africa, come to El Salvador, go to Bitcoin Jungle in Costa Rica, Put your money in Bitcoin and go and see if that life can be for you, And that's an easy way, Bitcoin tourism.
Mm-hmm. It's true. I mean, just to Hermann's point about the idea of, there are people in South Africa, there are people in El Salvador, there are people in Costa Rica, there are people in Senegal who have a better understanding of 90% of the American, the European, the British Bitcoin communities, because they're actually using it as money. You never get that understanding from Bitcoin by just hodling it. All you see it as a savings account. But Bitcoin isn't just a savings account. Yes, it is the best savings account known to mankind, but it's also the best spending tool, the best remittances tool, the best transfer of value the world has ever seen. So get up and start using it as peer-to-peer cash and as well as peer-to-peer savings. And it really winds me up when people say, oh, why would you spend your Bitcoin on that coffee? You're throwing away generational wealth on an espresso. And it's like, bro, come on, get with the program, be part of this change. Sorry to go on a bit of a rant here, but it really pisses me off. Hermann.
Can I add something to that?
Yes.
It's not, I wouldn't say it's a better understanding, it's just a different understanding.
It's better. They've got a deeper understanding. They actually see the whole thing.
Look, my life has been changed by both hodling Bitcoin and spending Bitcoin. And if it's not for the one, it wouldn't be for the other.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing. The other thing is just also, it's not like a us versus them kind of thing where, okay, well, in the third world we spend Bitcoin, in the first world you save it. I mean, I don't know if you saw on that explosion of circular economies, but there's a group of people in this random little town in Holland, in the Netherlands, that started building a circular economy in the Netherlands in 2014. And they struggled before Lightning, obviously, and in 2017 it kind of died a little bit because on-chain fees made it impossible. But that was in Europe, in a first world country where people had a very similar idea. And I think ultimately what it's about is about freedom. If you want freedom, why on earth would you want to use fiat for any longer than you absolutely have to? If you want freedom, you would want to start using Bitcoin as much as possible, as soon as possible.
Yeah, totally agree. We're coming to our last couple of minutes, so can we maybe just go down the line quickly and give us a 20 to 30 second answer about what people can do if they're at all inspired by this and they want to emulate that in their city or town or country, wherever they come from? Should we start with you, Mike, your top tips?
I mean, first, I would encourage you to go visit one of the circular economies where this is happening to get a bit better understanding of it. But then in where you're at, it can start small. This is what we always tell people, like, start it just in your neighborhood. People have this idea they need to go to the whole city. Just start it on your block in a neighborhood where you have that network effect happen.
Yeah, and where you're trusted as well.
Yeah, and I will challenge you to start a Bitcoin circular economy. Like, you can do it, Like, if we can do it, guys, come on. You can do it.
Okay. Any advice with that other than just start?
We will help you, we will support you, but you will have to do the work.
Good, great to hear. And Hermann, what do you think?
Yeah, just to reiterate, start where you are. I mean, the most successful projects I've seen come is the ones that have something that already exists, and they're not trying to build something brand new, but start with what they have. Like if you have a little preschool, then put Bitcoin in there. If you've got a normal business, put it in there. Whatever, just whatever you have, start with that.
Yeah.
And Joe, really quickly, if you go to the Bitcoin Beach site, we built a Bitcoin Beach white paper that basically is a guideline to if you want to replicate like a Bitcoin circular economy effort, and it's really short, like 10-page, but at least you will have a better understanding what we're talking about,
Very good. So, yes, do refer to the Bitcoin Beach white paper. Any closing remarks with our last couple of seconds?
Yeah, I know we had a proposal on stage, and I've got a gift for you, but it's not a proposal.
Thank God for that.
You've been working really hard this entire conference. I don't know how you do it. I have a little gift for you that plays into the whole circular economy idea. We've got stuff that we make and sell for sats, and the people who make this earn their salary in sats. So the guy that built this, it's handmade.
No way.
I think this might be the last one. We were selling them during the conference, so I kept the last one for you. There might be one or two left, and I don't know, but this is definitely one of the last. And
you gotta hold it up and show people what it is.
Yeah, what is this? What are we looking at here?
It's a recycling project. We take old surfboards that you can't fix anymore, and we employ a person to make these out of these old boards and turn it into a piece of art that you can hang on your wall. It's got some Bitcoin message on it, and the person who built this earns his entire salary in sats, and those sats get spent in the local economy, and that's how we encourage circular economies.
That's so awesome. Please, a round of applause
That's
for
for
you.
you.
That's the surfboard that you're gonna bring to
Oh,
El
is it for
Salvador.
me? Can I pay for it? Can I pay for it?
No, you don't have to pay for it, but I want to take a selfie with you with this in the background.
Okay, sure, yeah.
Now you have a surfboard to bring to El Salvador.
It's a bit... I was going to say I'm going to drop in on this, but thank you, Hermann. I'm very touched by that. You know that I can just zap your Nostr profile, so you can't give me this for free.
You can do that.
Yeah, okay. Thank you so much. Gentlemen, we've gone over time this afternoon. Please give it up for my wonderful panel this afternoon. We will take that selfie.
Thank you, Joe.
To Mike, to Roman, to Hermann. Thank you so much, guys. Cheers. Yeah, sure. Of course. Shall I get this front and center?
Can someone
There it is. Jeez, Satoshi, thank you so much,
Thank you, guys.
Another round of applause for the fantastic panel. Please do go and visit. I've got to stay here, but please do go and visit if any chance you can. Bitcoin Akazi is in South Africa. It's in Mossel Bay. It's a beautiful part of South Africa. And of course, El Zonte in Bitcoin Beach, a wonderful part of the world, which is undergoing profound change.